So if you're watching this video at the moment, then the chances are that I went through exactly what you are going through right now, about 4 years ago, depending on when you're watching this video. I was in exactly the same position. I made some very bad choices and I was unfaithful to my wife. But I want to tell you that there is hope. You can go from a broken, lost, hopeless place to a place where you have more joy in your marriage than ever before. And if you want to start that process and win back your wife, win back your family, and win back her heart, I want to encourage you to watch the rest of this video, because I really believe that this can and will help you. So let's get into that. So as I mentioned in the introduction of this video, I probably went through the same thing, or more or less the same thing that you're going through right now. And that was about 4 years ago, depending on when you're watching this video. I was also unfaithful, and I learned through the hard way what not to do in this whole process that is to follow. And the first point that I want to get to, which I think is a very, very big one, is to play the victim. Now, no one likes the victim card. Someone that plays the victim card refuses to take responsibility for things and for decisions that they've made. And I think this is something that is definitely very unhealthy in any relationship. Doesn't matter what's happening. Even if you're in a healthy relationship, and no one was unfaithful for that matter, playing the victim is very, very unhealthy. And I think this should be avoided at all costs, because like I said, that means that the party playing the victim card is not taking responsibility. Even if they were wronged, playing the victim card, definitely a no in this whole reconciliation process that you're going to start to win back your wife's heart. If you're going to play the victim card, you are definitely closing a very, very big door to yourself and this whole process that is supposed to unfold. Okay, so point number 2 is blame shifting. So blame shifting, linking a little bit with the first point when it comes to playing the victim. If you're going to play the victim and then blame shift this whole process to your spouse or your partner, I promise you that there will be no healing that can take place afterwards. And I promise you that, with the whole process that is going to unfold, if you want to have a healthy restoration and reconciliation process with your spouse, your partner, your wife, playing the victim and then blame shifting the responsibility to them will definitely not help any healthy relationship and any recovery process. You will need to take responsibility for the actions that you've taken. And there might have been some things that caused her to do this and caused you to do this. But for now, for this restoration process and to reconcile with your spouse, your partner, and your wife, you cannot blame shift anything to them at the moment. You'll need to listen. You'll need to communicate openly and be honest. But you cannot blame shift anything to them in this process that you are right now. Point number 3 is to be entitled. So this is, in my opinion, a very short and sweet one. You cannot be entitled. You cannot demand anything at the moment or be demanding. That again will close that door for you that you want as wide open as possible for your wife to present an opportunity for you to reconcile with her, to win back her trust, win back her heart, and win back her love ultimately. Being entitled will definitely keep you out of that position and out of that place where that is possible to happen. So don't be entitled, don't demand anything, be humble, be open, communicate openly and honestly, and you'll see the major difference that this has in this whole process that is in front of you. So number 4 is to be dishonest. Now this seems like a very straightforward one, and it is, but being dishonest will probably be the biggest thing that you can do to keep this whole process and delay this process, and not just delay the process, but stop this process from happening at all. If you're going to be dishonest, you've been dishonest about a lot of things up until now. So now is the time to start being honest. So don't be dishonest about anything. If your wife is and your spouse is going to suspect that you are dishonest about anything, you will probably lose them forever. And this whole reconciliation process will never happen, because they'll know, and you'll just confirm with them that they can never trust you. So be honest, don't lie, be open and honest about everything, and make sure that they know that. So the second last point is to keep having contact with the person, or in extreme cases, persons that you were unfaithful with. This is, I think this is an obvious one, obviously, but just straightforward. If you're going to keep contact with that person and keep talking to them, texting them, being friends on social media and Facebook, liking and following their pages, Instagram, TikTok, all of these different social media pages, communicate on messaging apps, obviously you've not broken those ties, and that will tell your spouse and your partner that you are not ready, and that you don't want to reconcile, that you don't want her back, and that will send a very, very clear message to her that there is no chance for you guys to reconcile and make up, and that you don't ultimately want to win her back. So make sure that the person that you were unfaithful with, that third person, unfortunately, that you cut off all contact with that person. Block them on social media. I think it's a very healthy thing to do. Block them on social media. Block them on any messaging apps that you had contact with them, and make sure that your partner knows that you've done that. Share this information with them, and tell them that they are open to ask you anytime about your phone. Be open. Tell her that she can take your phone and look at your phone if she wants to. That will win a lot of trust in your spouse and in your partner, and show that you have committed to breaking off this relationship, and that you want to go forward with the process of winning her back and winning back her trust and her love ultimately. So then the last point, and probably the most important point of this whole video, is to continue the same as you did before. I'm going to take a few moments and just stand still on this point, because it is very, very important. I realized that after everything happened and all of the decisions I made, the way that I communicated, the way that I thought, the things that were going on in my heart, I realized that I needed to change. I needed to change the way I think. I needed to change the way I think about my wife, my marriage. I needed to change everything about myself when it comes to my marriage. So important, not my personality or the person that I am, just the way I think, act. I would go as far to say as how I feel about my marriage, about my wife, about our relationship, and about how everything transpires and happens. Because I realized that up until that point, it got me to a place where I almost lost everything. I was going to lose. I was going to lose my wife, whom I love very much. I was going to lose my family. And those were the most important and dear things in my life. So I realized that I needed to change. I needed to make changes to the way that I thought, what I believed, how I saw our relationship, how I acted, the choices that I made and how I made those choices. Instead of being selfish, I would put my wife first. For example, in any decision, whatever decision I was going to face, instead of thinking about myself, I would think about my wife first. What is going to make her happy? How would she feel if I chose this instead of that? And that made a tremendous, tremendous difference in the way we went forward. We basically had a new foundation that we could build our marriage and our relationship on, because I changed. Now, there's a saying by a a pastor, a New York Times bestseller, motivational speaker. You know, he's got all of these different titles. His name is Miles Monroe, and unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago. But he had a saying that you are single but not alone. So I very much remembered that and took that with me on this path that I was on, to reconcile my marriage, to win back my wife's heart and have a happy marriage. I was single, but I was not alone. That meant that I needed to work on myself and make sure that I am okay, that I am at a healthy place, in a healthy place, healthy state, that my heart was in a healthy place, that my mind was in a healthy place, that I physically obviously was in a healthy place, spiritually, very important, I was in a healthy place. And because I was in a healthy place, you know, I'm supposed to be my wife's leader, her covering, her protector, and all of these things. And I failed in all of those aspects. So that all needed a reset. And a very, very big thing was selfishness. So just to make decisions not based on myself and my wants, but based on her wants and needs, putting her first. And you'll see what a major and tremendous difference it makes in your marriage and your relationship if both of you can do that. So marriage is not a one-way street. It is a two-way street. So there are two people involved. It takes two to tango. And if you do that and she does that, it makes a world of difference in the way that your marriage goes ahead. So if you can have that as a base, be in a healthy place, look after yourself, the way that you do things, don't lie, don't be even half untruthful, half truthful, all those kind of little things that ultimately is not 100% the right way to do things. If you start putting those things in place and being ultimately just a good human being and a good husband, you'll see that those things, all those small things add up and will have a tremendous influence on your wife being very, very, very happy. And you'll see the seed that you're sowing into her as a husband in all these small things will have a major impact in the result and the feedback that you're getting from her. And let's call it a harvest. If you're sowing seed into her, a harvest that you're going to get back from her, she'll be most likely be very helpful, very friendly, very loving, very caring, very respectful towards you as well. Why? Because everything that you're doing is for her best interest. You're there for her. You're putting her first. You're putting your marriage first, and not just yourself first. And that will make a tremendous, tremendous difference in having a healthy marriage and a healthy relationship forward. So point number 6, the last point of this video, is do not continue the same way that you have up until this point. You'll need to make changes, drastic changes in the way that you think, act, talk, speak, treat your wife, and the way that you make decisions. And once you start doing that, you'll see a very, very, very big change.